Under the command of Abu Ubayd ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, the Muslims won one victory after another, defeating the Persian forces at Namarik, Kaskar, and the army of Jalinus. When these reports reached the Sasanian commander Rostam, he was furious. He now realized that the Muslims could no longer be stopped by sending small armies against them. He summoned the most experienced general of the Sasanian Empire. His name was Bahman Jadhuyih. Although advanced in age, he was unmatched in military experience. Arab historians also referred to him as Du al-Hajab because his eyebrows were so thick that they had to be tied up with straps to keep them from covering his eyes. Bahman had spent his entire life on the battlefield. He looked down on the Arabs and had complete confidence in the superiority of the Sasanian Empire. Rostam said to him, "This is our last chance. If we are defeated again, Iraq will be lost to us forever." Bahman replied confidently, "I will either return with victory, or I will give my life on the battlefield." Then a scene unfolded that was witnessed in Persia only before the most important wars. From the royal treasury, the sacred banner of the Sasanian Empire was brought out. The Derafsh Kaviani. It was not merely a flag. It was regarded as the symbol of Persia's glory, power, and imperial authority. It is said that the Sasanian kings displayed this banner only when the survival of the empire itself was at stake. It was made of fine silk and decorated with gold embroidery, rubies, pearls, and precious jewels. When sunlight struck it, the banner shimmered brilliantly and could be seen from a great distance. The sacred standard was entrusted to Bahman Jadhuyih. The entire Persian Empire was filled with renewed confidence. Meanwhile, the Muslims possessed no golden banners, no royal garments, no vast army. They had only their faith and complete trust in Allah. A few days later, Bahman Jadhuyih marched with his massive army to the eastern bank of the Euphrates River. On the western bank stood the army of Abu Ubayd al-Thaqafi. The river separated the two forces. On the night before the battle, an extraordinary event occurred. The wife of Abu Ubayd saw a dream. She saw a man descending from the heavens carrying a vessel filled with a sweet drink. He offered that drink to Abu Ubayd and several other Muslims. The next morning she told her husband about the dream. Abu Ubayd listened silently. Then he smiled and said, "If Allah wills, this is glad tidings of martyrdom." Meanwhile, Bahman had completed all his preparations for war. He sent a message to the Muslims. "Either cross the river and come to us, or allow us to cross to your side." It was a decision of immense importance. Al-Muthanna ibn Harithah and several experienced companions advised, "O Commander, it would be better to let the enemy cross first. If they are defeated, retreat will become much more difficult for them." It was an excellent military strategy. But Abu Ubayd was driven by another conviction. He declared, "We do not want the Persians to think that the Muslims fear death. We ourselves will cross the river." Using boats and timber, the Muslims constructed a temporary bridge. With cries of, "Allahu Akbar," the Islamic army crossed into enemy territory. Al-Muthanna surveyed the battlefield. A sense of concern filled his heart. The battlefield was narrow. The river lay behind them. And if the battle turned against them, there would be only one route of escape: the bridge. But the decision had already been made. The two great armies now stood face to face. On one side stood the might of the Sasanian Empire, war elephants, and thousands of soldiers. On the other stood the devoted warriors of Islam, men determined to uphold the religion of Allah at any cost. No one knew that within the next few hours, one of the most tragic battles in early Islamic history was about to begin, and that the battlefield would witness a scene that would be remembered forever. As the two armies faced one another, Bahman Jadhuyih placed the mighty war elephants at the front of the Sasanian battle line. Armored soldiers rode upon these enormous beasts, armed with spears and bows. Never before had the Muslims encountered such a large force of war elephants. The battle began with a powerful Persian assault. The elephants charged forward, followed closely by waves of infantry and cavalry. Their thunderous footsteps shook the earth, and the terrifying appearance caused many Muslim horses to panic. For a moment, confusion spread through the Muslim ranks. Abu Ubayd ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi quickly recognized the danger. He ordered his warriors to target the elephant's eyes and trunks. Several brave fighters rushed forward, but the giant animals continued their relentless advance. Then the largest of them all, the great white elephant, the pride of the Persian army, charged directly toward Abu Ubayd. Without hesitation, Abu Ubayd dismounted from his horse and struck the elephant's trunk with his sword. The beast was wounded, but in the very next moment it wrapped its trunk around him, hurled him to the ground, and crushed him beneath its massive feet. Abu Ubayd ibn Mas'ud al-Thaqafi was martyred. For a brief moment, the Muslim army was shaken by the loss of its commander. The battle standard was immediately taken up by Hakim ibn Mas'ud, who fought with extraordinary courage until he, too, was martyred. Then Jabir ibn Bakr carried the banner, and fell. After him, Wahb ibn Abdullah raised it, and was martyred. Then Sa'd ibn Ubayd took the standard, and he also gave his life on the battlefield. One after another, brave Muslim warriors stepped forward to carry the banner, refusing to let it fall, even at the cost of their own lives. The situation had now become critical. The Sasanian army continued to press its attack, while the Muslims had only one route of retreat, the temporary bridge across the Euphrates River. In the chaos, some soldiers attempted to destroy the bridge so that no one would retreat. But al-Muthanna ibn Harithah immediately stopped them and ordered that the bridge remain intact. He and his companions stood firm against the Persian advance, sacrificing themselves to give the rest of the Muslim army enough time to withdraw in an orderly manner. Al-Muthanna was severely wounded, yet he refused to leave the battlefield. Thanks to his courage and leadership, the Muslim army escaped complete destruction, and many soldiers managed to cross the Euphrates safely. The battle became known to history as the Battle of the Bridge. The Muslims suffered heavy casualties, and many distinguished companions embraced martyrdom. Yet this defeat was not the end. It became a painful lesson that reshaped the Muslim army's strategy and resolve. Only a few months later, al-Muthanna ibn Harithah reorganized the surviving forces and prepared them for another confrontation with the mighty Sasanian Empire. Soon afterward, under the command of Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, the Muslims met the Persians once again at the Battle of al-Qadisiyyah. There, the tide of history would turn. The once invincible Sasanian Empire would suffer a crushing defeat, marking the beginning of its final collapse. The sacrifice of Abu Ubayd and the martyrs of the Battle of the Bridge had not been in vain.